Hi everyone, welcome back. This is video 7 Advanced Rendering and React 1819. Today we cover Concurrent React, Transition, Suspense, Error Boundaries, Server Components, Hydration, SSR versus CSR versus SSG, and the big React 19 features, actions, use action state, use optimistic, and the use API. So 24 questions, let's go. What is concurrent React? Concurrent React is just a set of features that let React interrupt, pause, resume, or abandon rendering work so the UI stays responsive. It's built on the Fiverr architecture. Feature like start transition, use default value, suspense, and selective hydration all rely on it. So it's not a mode you switch on, it's how modern React works. What problem does start transition solve? Happy state updates used to freeze the UI, typing, clicks, everything waited. Start transition marks an update as non-urgent, so React can keep urgent work instant and do the heavy render in the background while still showing the previous UI. Urgent versus non-urgent updates. Urgent updates are direct user input, typing, clicking, dragging. They must feel instant. Non-urgent updates are the ones you wrap in start transition or use transition search results. Tab content, filter, list. React prioritize urgent work and can interrupt the rest. You have to tell React which is which. Explain use transition with a real example. Use transition returns is pending and start transition. Classical example, tab switcher on click you call start transition, set tab, the old tab stays visible until the new one is ready, and is pending let you show a subtle loading indicator. Same patterns work great for search. Keep the input urgent, wrap the expensive filter list in a transition. What is suspense? Suspense is a boundary for waiting states. A component can suspend while data or code loads, and React shows the fallback you provide until it's ready. You write suspense fallback is equal to spinner around the part that might suspend. It started with React.lazy and now works with data libraries and server components too. So the next question is, what can suspense be used for? Uh, So the three main uses: code splitting with React.lazy, data fetching with Suspense compatible libraries, and streaming SSR plus selective hydration. So different parts of the page can stream and hydrate independently. Next question: what are error boundaries? Error boundaries are components that catch JavaScript errors in their child tree during rendering. Long them and show a fallback UI instead of crashing the whole app. So they are still class components. You implement get derived state from error and component did catch, put them around independent section so one failure doesn't take everything down. How do error boundaries work? So get derived state from error, receive the error and return state. So you can render a fallback component did catch, receive the error and component stack. Use it for logging the only catch errors in the render phase, life cycles and constructors of the tree below them. Can error boundaries catch async errors? No errors inside event handlers, set timeout, or promises are outside React's render phase, so boundaries don't see them. Use try catch in those places and handle data fetching errors in your library or with patterns that libraries provide on top of suspense. What are React server components? Server components runs only on the server. They never ship JavaScript to the client, can access databases and secrets directly and keep the client bundle small. In framework like Next.js app router, they are the default unless you add use client. So the difference between server components and client components. So server components, they are server only, can talk to DB, no hooks, no browser APIs, zero client, JS cost. Client components runs in the browser, can use state, effects, and event handlers marked with use client. You compose them. Server components can render client components as children. What is hydration? Hydration is React attaching to HTML that the server already sent. It builds the component tree and adds event listeners on top of the existing markup so the page becomes interactive without throwing away the server HTML. The first client renders the first client render must match the server output exactly. So what is selective hydration? With suspense boundaries, React can hydrate different parts of the page independently as their code and data arrive. If the user interacts with a part that isn't hydrated yet, React prioritizes that part so the interaction still feels fast. What causes hydration mismatch? When the server HTML and the client's first render don't match, common causes date.now, mat random, typo window checks, invalid HTML, or browser only logic during render. Fix by keeping the first render pure and identical or move non-deterministic work into use effect. So next question is difference between SSR, CSR, and SSG. So CSR, the browser build the UI from JavaScript, great interactivity, weaker first paint, and SEO. SSR, the server renders HTML per request, good SEO and freshness, higher server cost. SSG, HTML generated at build time, fastest delivery, and SEO content is static until the next build. So when would you choose each rendering strategy? So SSG for marketing, blogs, docs, content that changes on publics. SSR when you need fresh or personalized HTML with SEO. CSR for highly interactive logged in apps where SEO does not matter. What improvements came with React 19? So actions and first class form handling, now hooks, use action state, use optimistic, and use better error messages, document metadata support, and continued work on the React compilers. What are actions in React? Actions are functions, often async, that update state and are treated as transitions. You pass them to start transition, form action, or use action state. React tracks pending state for you. They work on the client and the server actions on the server. What is use action state? Use action state gives you state that updates from an action state. Form action is pending. Pass form action to a form. The action receives previous state and form data, and whatever it returns becomes the new state. Perfect for forms with pending and error handling built in. What is use optimistic? Use optimistic. Let us show the expected result immediately while the real request is still in flight. When the action finishes, React switches back to the confirmed state. Ideal for likes, card updates, name changes, anything where instant feedback feels right. What is next question is what is use API? Use letters read a promise or context during renders, including conditionally. If the promise is pending, the component suspends and the nearest suspense boundary shows its fallback. Unlike hooks, it can be called inside ifs and loops. Next question: how do optimistic updates works? So we assume success and update the UI right away. When the server responds, you either keep that state or roll it back. Use optimistic ties the temporary value to an action so the happy path feels instant and the framework handles the cleanup. How do forms work with React actions? You pass a function to the forms action prop or a button form action. React calls it with form data, wrap the work in a transition, and can reset the form on success. With server actions, the form can even work before JavaScript loads. How to handle pending and error states? Modern APIs. So use is pending from use action state or use transition to disable buttons and show spinners. Return an error from the action so it lands in a state and you can display it. Combine with use optimistic for instant feedback on the success path that covers to full loop cleanly. So this is the last slide. So that's a wrap for video 7. You now have solid answers for concurrent React, transition, suspense, error boundaries, server components, hydration, rendering strategies, and the React 19 action model. In this, if the series is helping you, like and subscribe. Tell us in the comment what to cover next, deeper forms, TypeScript with React, testing or performance. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.